Hello everybody. Found this intriguing. Molly Wirtz posted this earlier, talking about how she likes to see people's workflow and the video that behind it and all of that. So I thought I'd make a quick little video on how I did one of my songs, which I will link in this post once I post it. So here my rig. I'll kind of give you an overview first, because a lot of this isn't hooked up at the moment because I've been redoing stuff. But the video I'm going to link, everything I do believe is hooked up that made that video. So we have on the end here the computer workstation. You can see it down there, the Mogintosh. And this is all used when I'm recording with a DAW. You know, if you're going to record something and master it and edit and make it perfect, you know, for release. Of course, you would record that way. And the overview, there's MIDI interfaces here. More than enough channels for every keyboard I could ever put in here. This network box is part of the audio system that feeds this digitally. It's all known as Dante Digital Network Audio. And it's mapped out on the computer. I won't go into detail on that because that can get confusing to people in a hurry. There's some gear missing here because we're redoing things. And of course, rack mount modules, sound modules, and so on, the monitor speakers. Now, if you start over here, this starts what I call my live and compositional area. Now, these two don't go out, well, none of this goes out live because these are just too big and heavy. And of course, the DX1, as scarce as it is, isn't something I want to keep moving around considering it's mint. But anyway, we have DX5, DX1, and a CP70 electric piano. And over here we have the Polyend, Digitac, Peak, Marauder Nova, a Lindrum, Matrix Brute, a Kawai SX240, which was my first keyboard ever. I bought that new in 1984. Polymode with pedals, which isn't currently hooked up. It's not needed for this. There's an Oberheim drummer box, which creates drum patterns on the fly. MS-2000. And what we got in here, and you'll see this later on, this is an Encore Expressionist. There we go. That is a CV to gate to MIDI, any direction you want, any voltage, 8 different channels. So I hook anything up, old and new. A couple effects units, an analog mixer, and this is what I've been redoing. It's not hooked up yet, but it's gonna play with MIDI delay. 4 different delays on 4 different keyboards. So you play a riff, and it'll MIDI out that riff at different delays to different keyboards. And sampler, RD8 drums, and of course over here is more keyboards. And LVXA is not hooked up yet at the moment. And there's other stuff here that I've been rearranging, K3s, SX240s, and of course back to the computer station. And there's stuff all over the place. There's stuff back here, and stands, and piano over there. But when I record on DAW, you know, like you can do serious full-blown multi-track recording, I hook up keyboards. You take your pick, and back behind the stands here are these patch bays. You patch into them, and these 2 snake cables go all the way behind everything to these 2 Dante digital rack mixers. And those rack mixers are connected to the computer through Logic Pro, so each one has its own track and input, and you can do everything on the computer when you're recording that way. There is also another patch bay on this side, which serves the same purpose when you want to patch in direct to do your recording. So that makes it real easy. But that's a thing for another video. So I know you're more interested in the workflow from the link I'm going to be posting in this. So here's the layout of what you'll see in that video. Matrix Brute serves as the master to all, if you will. It's the source of the clock. It's the source that starts and stops all sequencing on everything. It MIDIs out in daisy chain. It MIDIs out to the first to the Polyend. And the Polyend can be set up on well, you could actually do 3 or 4 different outs if you use the USB as well. I only use 2. And I generally use these top 4 tracks to create drum patterns for the Lindrum. So when this is playing, it's only playing the Lindrum, you know, bass drum, snare. There's a shaker here, and this would be hi-hat if I turn those on. Then I use these tracks, they MIDI out to the RD8 to play what I need from it. And then the through jack goes through to here, through to here. I do believe it goes through to, well, it may be as far through as it goes. No, it goes through down to here as well, because I use the sequencer in this for backing pads and chords, as built-in sequencer. So that's kind of the first part of the MIDI setup. Now, I do things a little strangely. You know, I call it old school because it's how I've done it since the 80s. I have the MIDI out on this, not the through, but the out. So if I play this, it's MIDIing out to the Marauder Nova, because these little keys drive me nuts. They're big enough, but it's easier down here. So I play this, it's actually playing the Marauder Nova. Now I have the local turned off in the Marauder Nova because I have this connected to the Expressionist so that I can play this keyboard without having to reach over to it. But that keyboard doesn't have MIDI, it's only CV and gate. So now if I play this, it's actually going to play that. You there? So that way it's all hands-on, standing right here in this general area without having to do much reaching. I've done the reach to this one before, and I may have done it in that video, but I found this to be easier. The MS-2000 is standalone. It's not MIDI to anything. You just play what you need from it when you're playing. Now the drummer, it gets its clock through everything from here as well. When I start the sequencer here, it starts the drummer, which then plays only patterns on this Pearl SC40 box, which is fun because it's got like bonks and gongs and clanks and funky noises in it that you can use. And then the last of the MIDI setup, I have the DX1's MIDI out, goes to the DX5's MIDI in. But there's no through. What I do have, it's out, going straight to the Matrix Brute's input. And I have this set up because the DX keyboards will allow you to do sequencer start and stop MIDI commands. So if I hit the key hold over here, and that's ready to play a tune over there, if I hit a note, it's going to start the sequencer over there. This gives me the ability to play and change the sequence notes just as if I was standing over here. So that gives me 2 different areas where I can start and stop everything in the song. And that's really about it. Watch the video, you'll see how I go between things. It's kind of fun to show people my, to me this is a basic MIDI setup. I could make this a lot more complicated, but since I'm hands-on and love playing the keys and letting the sequences fill in the background, it works for me.